Some stars are born under luck, but this one was born under pressure. The island of Madeira, floating quietly in the Atlantic and where life was simple, and dreams were often too big for its small streets. In one of those narrow lanes, a barefoot boy chased a tattered football like it was the key to another world. His name was Cristiano Ronaldo dos Santos Aveiro. He wasn't rich. His family lived in a small house built by his father's hands. The kitchen often smelled of soup stretched too thin, but his mother, Maria Dolores, always smiled. When the rain poured and the roads turned muddy, other kids ran for cover. Cristiano didn't. He kicked the ball harder, as if every drop of rain dared him to stop. "I was never the best," he'd say later, "but I always wanted to train more than the best." Even as a child, he cried when he lost, not out of ego, but out of hunger. The same hunger that would one day terrify defenders around the world. One night, when the wind howled through the cracked roof, his father sat beside him, a man of few words, his eyes heavy from long hours at the local club, Madeira, where he worked as a kit man. He placed a worn football beside Cristiano's pillow and whispered, "Maybe this ball will take you further than this island ever could." Cristiano didn't sleep that night. He stared at the ball like it was a compass, one that pointed him toward destiny. The next morning, he was back on the field. No shoes, no crowd, no cameras. Just a boy in a dream too heavy for his small hands. He played so fiercely that one local coach, Fernando Sousa, stopped mid-conversation and whispered, "That kid, he moves like he's chasing something no one else can see." That something was escape. From poverty, from limitations, from being forgotten. Years later, at age 12, a scout from Sporting Lisbon visited Madeira. When he saw Cristiano play, he didn't even blink. "We'll take him," he said. The next day, a letter arrived, a scholarship, a ticket to Lisbon, and a goodbye too heavy for a boy who still slept beside his mother. The night before he left, his mother packed his small bag, a few shirts, a cross necklace, and that same worn football. She hugged him tighter than ever. "Remember who you are," she whispered. "Even if the world forgets." At dawn, the boat pulled away. The island disappeared behind the mist, and for the first time, Cristiano felt the weight of silence. No friends, no family, just him and the dream his father once placed beside his pillow. Sometimes leaving home isn't about running away. It's about running toward something greater. Lisbon was loud, cold, and cruel. The dormitory walls were thin, and the other kids laughed at his accent. They mocked his small frame, his island slang. "He'll never make it," one said. "He's too skinny," said another. But every insult became fuel. While they slept, Ronaldo ran laps around the field until his legs trembled. While they rested, he stayed behind, juggling, sprinting, repeating drills until the streetlights flickered off. A coach once found him training alone in the dark and asked, "What are you doing here at this hour?" Cristiano looked up and said, "I'm not done yet." Those 3 words defined his life. He trained so hard that at 15 his heart started beating irregularly. Doctors feared it would end his career before it began. His mother wept in the hospital hallway, praying he'd survive. But Ronaldo, lying on that hospital bed, whispered to himself, "I'm not finished. Not yet." After surgery, he returned to the field in just weeks. His coaches couldn't believe it. He ran faster, trained longer, hit harder. Every kick sounded like a declaration, "I will not break." At 17, Sporting Lisbon gave him his first senior match. Within minutes, the stadium realized this wasn't just a boy. He played with fury, speed, and elegance, the crowd rising as one when he scored. He wasn't chasing dreams anymore. He was becoming the dream. And that's when destiny noticed him again. In the stands that night was Sir Alex Ferguson, the legendary manager of Manchester United. Ferguson watched the young boy destroy his defenders and turned to his assistant. "Sign him. Whatever it takes." When the call came, Cristiano froze. England, the land of legends, reign, and pressure. He was about to wear the jersey once held by giants, and the number that would define him, 7. But legends are not given numbers. They give meaning to them. Ronaldo knew he had to earn it. He stood in the locker room looking at the 7 stitched on his back. "I'll make them remember this number," he said quietly. And from that moment, he did. The next years would test his body, his soul, and his will. But the boy from Madeira had already learned, pain is just proof you're still fighting. He wasn't born a legend. He built himself into one, brick by brick, breath by breath, goal by goal. England wasn't home, but for Cristiano, home was wherever the ball touched his feet. The year was 2003. A shy 18-year-old boy from Portugal stepped into Old Trafford, the theater of dreams. The reporters didn't know his name yet. The veterans looked at him and saw just another youngster with fancy tricks. But Sir Alex Ferguson saw something else, fire. "You'll wear the number 7, Ferguson said. Cristiano froze. "But sir, that number belongs to legends." Ferguson's eyes narrowed. "Then become one." That night, under the roaring stadium lights, Ronaldo made his Manchester United debut. The whistle blew when the world met a storm in motion. His feet danced with impossible precision. Defenders twisted, fans gasped, and the crowd rose. When he struck his first free kick, bending through the air like it obeyed him, the stadium fell silent for a second, then erupted. A new star was born. But fame didn't make him comfortable, it made him obsessed. At the training ground, when everyone went home, Ronaldo stayed. He ran sprints in the cold, practiced headers till his neck ached, and repeated free kicks until the ball no longer missed. He'd whisper to himself, "One more, just one more." His teammates teased him. "Cristiano, go home. The lights are off." He'd laugh and reply, "That's when I shine." He wasn't competing with them. He was competing with the man he was yesterday. Still, the Premier League was brutal. They kicked him, mocked him, booed him. Fans called him arrogant. Players called him soft. And after every match, when bruises covered his legs, he sat alone in the locker room, staring at the mirror. "They don't believe in you," his mind whispered. "Good," he answered. "Let that fuel me." Slowly, the boy became steel. He learned to channel anger into focus, to turn every tackle into a lesson, every failure into fuel. In training, he ran faster. In matches, he scored more. Every goal was a message. You can't break what refuses to bend. Then came 2008, the year the boy from Madeira became the world's best. Ronaldo led Manchester United to Champions League glory, scored in the final, and lifted the Ballon d'Or as the best player on earth. As the golden trophy reflected the lights of Paris, Ronaldo stood silent for a moment, remembering the island, the soup that never filled enough bowls, the nights he cried alone. "I made it, Dad," he whispered softly. But legends never stop at success, and they redefine it. Despite all the glory, there was a restlessness in him, a hunger too deep to satisfy. He wanted more, not for fame, but for legacy. And that's when Real Madrid called. The world thought he'd reached the top. But Cristiano Ronaldo was just stepping onto a higher mountain. The transfer was historic, £80 million, the most expensive player in the world. When he arrived in Madrid, cameras flashed like lightning. But amid the chaos, he stood tall, eyes fixed on the pitch. "I'm here to make history," he said simply. And history bowed. The early days at Madrid weren't easy. Fans expected miracles, and even miracles weren't enough. He missed penalties. He cried in locker rooms. They compared him to Raúl, to Di Stefano, and then on to Messi. That name became a shadow in every stadium. Reporters fueled the rivalry. Fans made it personal. But for Cristiano, it was never about outshining someone else. It was about becoming the best version of himself, again and again. "I don't chase anyone," he once said. "I chase perfection." And he did. Training like a soldier, playing like a machine, celebrating like a warrior. Every goal became a symbol of obsession, sacrifice, and unbreakable will. In one interview, a journalist asked, "Why do you push yourself so hard?" He smiled slightly. "Because every time I score, I remember the boy who had nothing." Years passed. Records shattered. He became Madrid's all-time top scorer. He lifted trophy after trophy. Champions Leagues, league titles, Ballon d'Ors, until his cabinet looked like a museum of greatness. But beyond the goals, something deeper changed. He became a father, and when he held his son for the first time, the man who once chased dreams realized something new. Now I must teach him what dreams cost. From hunger to hero. From a crying boy in Madeira to the king of Madrid. But greatness isn't a straight line. It bends, it bleeds, and sometimes it breaks. And soon the world would see the other side of glory. The pain of expectation, the loneliness behind fame, and the fight to remain human when the world treats you like a god. They cheered when he scored. They booed when he missed. But when the noise faded, only one sound remained, the sound of his own breath. It was 2016. Cristiano Ronaldo stood at the edge of another war. This time, not for a club, but for his country. The Euro final. Portugal versus France. Early in the match, a brutal tackle. Pain shot through his leg. He tried to walk, then jog, then run. He fell again. The stadium went silent. Tears streamed down his face as the captain's armband slid off his arm. He limped off the field, heart shattered, dream fading. But destiny wasn't done with him. From the sidelines, limping, shouting, waving his arms, he became something more than a player. He became a leader. Every word he shouted burned through the air. "We fight till the end!" When the final whistle blew and Portugal were crowned champions of Europe, he dropped to his knees, hands over his face. The boy from Madeira had finally brought his nation glory. For the first time, the world didn't see a machine. They saw a man. Years passed. Ronaldo conquered more, Juventus, records, titles, awards won, yet with every new season came a whisper. "He's getting old. His time is over." He heard it all. And it hurt. Because people forget, legends aren't made of metal. They're made of heart. One night after training, he sat alone under the floodlights. Everyone else had gone home. His knees ached. His muscles screamed. He looked up at the stars and whispered, "I'm still here." When you've climbed every mountain, the hardest thing is watching others try to take your place. Then came Manchester again, a full circle. He returned to the club that raised him, to the fans who once chanted his name like an anthem. But time had changed everything. The faces, the system, the energy. He wasn't the future anymore. He was the reminder of what greatness used to look like. Critics circled like vultures. Every missed shot became a headline. Every benching a scandal. Yet behind closed doors, he trained harder. He never asked for sympathy or only for a ball, a field, and one more chance to prove he still could. His son, Cristiano Jr., once asked him, "Papa, why do you still train when you've already won everything?" He smiled, eyes soft. "Because winning once isn't enough, son. You have to earn it every day." That's who he was, not just a player. A teacher of resilience, a believer in impossible standards. Some play to win. He played to never surrender. Then came the World Cup, his final one. The stadium lights burned brighter than ever. Camera flashes caught his face, calm, proud, yet heavy with silence. When the final whistle blew, he walked down the tunnel alone. No tears, no words, just a quiet man leaving the stage. He once ruled, and yet he smiled. Because even when the world doubted him, he knew something they didn't. Legends don't retire, they evolve. Today he stands as the most followed athlete in history, not because of his fame, but because of what he represents. Discipline, fire, legacy. He came from nothing, built an empire, broke the rules of age, of limits, of destiny itself. Cut to a montage. The streets of Madeira, the roar of Old Trafford, the lights of Madrid, the tears of Paris, and finally, the silence of one man smiling at his reflection in the mirror. Older, wiser, unbroken. "You were right, Dad," he whispers. "This ball really did take me far." They called him arrogant. They called him obsessed. They called him impossible. But history calls him something else. Immortal.